since I mentioned the therapist thing, to me, when you've got good work as a machinist, it is a type of therapy. When you get in the flow state, just the pride and the everything just kind of disappears, especially when you get that just like perfect hum out of a tool. I just love it.
Jared Reining matters because he represents the skilled core of manufacturing, the machinists who quietly make everything else in this world possible. His work at PharmaMed Automation supports advanced systems that demand precision and reliability, while his garage shop reflects the entrepreneurial spirit and pride that have always driven this trade. Jared's story speaks directly to the future of the middle class: meaningful work, earned expertise, and the dignity that comes from building something for anyone considering manufacturing. He offers a grounded, honest look at what a career in machining can be and why it matters. Hello and welcome to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I'm your host, Jim Mayer. If this is your first time here, welcome. So happy you're here. If you're a glutton for punishment and you're back for more, thank you again for joining us on this journey. If you like this show, if you're listening to the show and you've liked what you've heard so far, please make sure to take 2 seconds to rate and review on whatever podcast platform you're listening or watching it. If you're on YouTube, it's not for my ego. It's not for my guest's ego. It's to help other people in the funky algorithm that is podcast platforms find this show. So please take some time, go rate and review the show. Now to our guest. Jared Reining is pretty badass dude. So welcome, Jared Reining, to the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. Glad to have you here today. How are you doing, man?
Excellent. Thanks for having me on. Happy to be here.
I'm happy you're here, man. I am happy you're here. Jared, it's Friday afternoon, evening. It's unfortunately for you, 74 degrees here in Phoenix. You're up in the frigid tundra of North Dakota facing a blizzard. So thanks for having this chat with me today. I know people are going to enjoy this conversation. My first icebreaker for you, Jared, is one I ask everybody, and that is, if your life were a movie, what genre would it be? Who would play you? And what's the opening scene?
So I've thought about this a lot since I listen to your show regularly, and I knew you were going to ask it. I couldn't really think of one until today. I remembered this movie that I watched. It had Jake Johnson and Olivia Wilde in it, and it was I can't remember what it was called, but they worked at a brewery, and it was an unscripted movie. So it was the director and writer was going for real life. So it was about these two who worked together at a brewery, and I can't remember if they were both in relationships or just one of them was in a relationship, but then they kind of ended up having a fling because they got close together at work. And that's not what my life is like, but it's the real life aspect of it where they didn't have a script. So there was quite a few pauses, like where the actors would just look at each other and not really sure what to say next, because it's just like, oh, we're having this fight right now. And no one told me what to say. I think I've just got an average life, I guess, but I love it. And the actor, I've been on a Mission Impossible kick right now. Not saying I'm anything like Tom Cruise, but that'd be pretty cool if Tom Cruise could play me.
Hell yeah, I dig that.
I think I would hope that his like improv skills would be great. And I hope he runs in it, because I had watched this video on the movies where Tom Cruise runs in his movies do like 87% better than movies he doesn't run in.
Okay, I like that. Because he's got a very distinctive run, right?
Yeah. He spent a lot of time learning to run, I guess.
He did.
I'm sure he's fast as hell too. So
the movie that you're thinking of is Drinking Buddies.
It is. Have you seen it?
I have not. It's actually in my queue. I had to look it up because I really like Jake Johnson. I think he is a phenomenal actor, right?
I like him too.
And his just delivery, he's so dry, man. I dig him a lot. So I had to look it up. I was like, wait, there's a movie. And so while we were talking or while you were describing, I looked it up, added it to my queue. So
Yeah,
now next week when
perfect.
I get on a plane, I'll watch that movie.
Yeah. Yep. Now that makes a lot of sense because they start just working together at a brewery as drinking buddies, and then it spirals from there. It is the dry type of movie, obviously, because it's not scripted. It's not like somebody curated a perfect script, but it was very well done, in my opinion. I loved it. I actually wish I could find more movies in that genre. It's kind of a harder one to look for, and I'm sure they don't make a whole lot because they you're not compared to Mission Impossible. Like I can see which one's going to be the blockbuster and which one isn't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I'll tell you, I just watched a documentary a week or so ago on Netflix. It's called 1975, and it's all about the year of 1975 and where we were as a country in that year. But it's told through the lens of the movies that were being made that year. And apparently, that was the last year that movies were made based on what people were feeling. Right, so there was more unscripted type movies. It wasn't like what is trending right now. Let's make a movie based on that, right? And it was the last year because the movie that won the Oscar that year was Rocky. Great movie, but that was the start of the blockbuster craze that then took over the Oscars. So if you're looking for those kinds of movies, watch that documentary and then watch some of those movies that are they mention in it, because I have just gone hog wild watching 50-year-old movies over the last like week and a half. So enjoy it because there are some in there. I'll think of a couple before we're done, maybe, and let you know.
Sweet, love to hear it.
All right, Jared. The fun is over. I'm just kidding. We're gonna have a lot of fun. Second question. We're on the Manufacturing Culture Podcast. I want to know what culture is to you. What is your definition of culture?
So I guess this question I didn't think as much about. I think it was one of your guests who had said it's what the building's like when you're not there. I love that answer. But for me, it's I guess more often the air of the shop and what it feels like when you're in there. Like does it feel laid back? Does it feel uptight? Is it determined? Because I mean, I for me, the determined hard charger energy is what I love to feel. I mean, some people that's not their gig, but yeah, I feel I have a pretty headstrong, hard charging attitude, and that that's what I like to feel around me. Also, I want everybody who's just trying to operate on the highest of high levels, best they can be.
I love that. That's awesome. Uh, great answer, Jared. You've spent, I think, over a decade in as a machinist. So, what got you interested? How did you get into the trade to begin with over a decade ago?
So I was not looking at manufacturing at all as I graduated high school. I mean, I did a couple of odd jobs, built pallets, put fish in boxes for a while, but then I had a girlfriend. She was like, she apparently wanted me to be better than that, so she's like, "You need to go to college." And my ag teacher had a huge impact on my life, so I was like, "You know what? I'll be a teacher." So I had started college for that, and my uncle owned a machine shop, Olander Tooling of Staples, and he gave me a call after my first day of college, and he was just like, "I need help pushing buttons. Uh, you'll get paid a decent wage. Come in when you can. Works with your schedule." And I'm just like, "Perfect. I can roll with that." And I started, and I had was originally button pusher, saw guy, just all around shop bitch, whichever he needed to do. I plumbed in airlines. But about 6 months in, they had me pretty regularly working on the machine, and I was kind of outrunning my supervisor who was setting it up for me. So he's just like, "Here's the tool or here's the tools." He had put them all in holders and everything for me, and then he's just like, "You just bring the tool down, touch the top of the part, hit this button." And slowly, for the next like 6 months or so, I had just gained. He just started offloading more and more responsibility. And by about 8, 9 months in, he's just like, "This is Gibbs Cam. Why don't you program the part?" I'm just like, "Okay." So, and then we got to August, and I was getting ready to start my second year because I was doing a 2+2 program. I was going to start my second year at tech school. And he's just like, "You're pretty good at this. Why don't you switch majors?" So I switched into machining, and then I did my AA degree in machining technologies instead, and then it was just uphill from there.
That's awesome.
I've been fortunate enough that I've been programming mostly from day one, like as soon as they trusted me enough. So I got the problem solving skills from all of that, and it's just been a great adventure ever since.
So were you, I mean, because we hear a lot of nonlinear paths into this trade, right? And the different pathways that people take to become machinists. Were you mechanically inclined when before you started? Like, was that something that you were good at? Was like problem solving and looking at levers and deduction and all those things, or was that something that you learned on the job as well?
So like I'd like to say I've always kind of had the problem solving side, but not necessarily mechanical. Cause like if you would have asked, 19-year-old me anything mechanics as I first walked into that shop, he'd be just like, I'm not your guy, man. I mean, I I grew up on a farm, so you'd think that I'd be mechanically inclined. Nope. I I was probably I didn't even change my own oil back then. So like I was just like mechanics wasn't my thing, but feel confident with it now. I mean, but I also believe anybody can learn any skills they want to. So like it was kind of a forced learn because like machining, you don't necessarily always use the mechanical skills, but they show up in certain ways and different things. I mean, nowadays, even I've got a 91 Matsura in my garage, and that something goes wrong, it's just like, well, I'm the tech now. I need to fix this.
We'll get to Arete, I think is how I say it, right? Arete. We'll get there in a second. Is the machine running as we speak, though?
It is not on. Oh yes, like it's not currently on, but it will run if I turn it on.
Yeah. All right. All right. Right on. So going back to those early years, was there a moment that you all of a sudden were like, since this wasn't your path, right? This was something that you kind of stumbled into and got progressively more responsibilities, right? Was there a moment that you were like, man, I'm really good at this. This is my gig. This is was it before you switched your AA or was it before or after that?
So I would say the moment that I'm just like where I thought I'm good at this, uh, was probably in 2022 when I left my second job. It, I had been doing it for 6 years. No, I'm almost 8 years at that point. Is when I actually felt pretty good at. The time I felt confident that I would at least stick with it was I went back and forth really hard that August of 2016, right before I switched majors. So I think I switched probably I don't know 2 3 weeks before class started. Like it wasn't much. So it was at the time looking back, I'd say it was probably a pretty abrupt decision. But yeah, the supervisor was just like, you can cut your schooling in half and you can make more money. And I'm just like, so I don't know if it was necessarily that I thought I was good or if it was just, yeah,
Yeah. No, I get that.
money enticed me.
Yeah. So you went from your uncle's shop. It was your
Yep.
uncle, right? Your uncle's
Yes,
shop,
he was.
and then you went to another company. And did you land somewhere else before PharmaMed, or did you go? Was that your third stop?
Nope. I did have one more. So I started at Olander Tooling. I worked there for about 4 years. Then I went to Lester Custom Machine here in Hawley, Minnesota, and I worked there for 4 years. And then I took a little stint at Matthias Die Company down in the Twin Cities. I did a year there, and then I wanted to get back up here in the Fargo area because I had good friends here. So then I came back after just one short year because when I left Lester Custom Machine, a good friend of mine, Ryan, he's the vice president at PharmaMed. He's like, we'd love to have you, but we just don't have a spot for you right now. So I took a job in the meantime to kill some time.
Got it.
Why did I decide to move, you know, 250 miles away? I don't know, but how it worked out.
Because you're young, man. I mean,
Yeah.
why not? I mean,
Yeah.
I moved all over the place when I was young, just because I could. And so now you're at PharmaMed. What's your role at PharmaMed? Are you a machinist?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is not that PharmaMed's different than most other shops, but PharmaMed is an original equipment manufacturer. So we design, machine, assemble, and then program packaging machines. So we don't take, not that we haven't, but we normally don't take outside work. So I can have a job shop out of my garage because I'm not directly competing with anything with PharmaMed, but I still do machining full time at PharmaMed.
Got it. And so what drove you to start your job shop in your garage?
So my buddy Ryan, he bought himself a Tormach in 2018 after. So Lester Custom Machine and PharmaMed Automation were in the same building. So I knew all the guys there before I had actually started, but we were working together and PharmaMed was one of our really good customers. So the engineers would send us prints and we'd do it all. And Ryan got to see us do machining in the back half of the shop, and he got really interested in it. So he bought himself a Tormach to teach himself how to machine. And he started doing some small business work out of his garage with his Tormach. And I saw that and I'm like, well, hell, I could probably do that too. I mean, I'm a better machinist than he is.
That's awesome. I mean, nothing like spite to drive entrepreneurship, right? I mean, I love it.
You gotta have your drive from somewhere. And I mean, yeah, there was no negative spite about it.
No,
Just the
no,
because he is a good friend of mine, but he just like, well, hell, yeah, I can do that.
no, I dig it, man. So talk to us about these machines that you all make at PharmaMed. What are you making there?
Yeah, so pharmaceutical packaging machines, like one of our more common lines that we've built a couple machines are is a foil breather system. So it's a partnership between us and a couple of other companies. We run most of the like casing and packing stuff, but they start with a thermoformer and then they put thread and needle into the formed package, seal it, then semi seal it, I guess is probably a better term. They then sterilize the thread and needle and then fully seal it so that when surgeons need thread and needle for sutures, they can just peel the package opening and go to work. That and insert any other pill or medical device into a package or case of some sort.
Wow, that's pretty cool, man. And this is why I love this industry because I can have 1,000 conversations with people and not duplicate for the most part what people are making. It's really cool. To you, I mean, you're an entrepreneur. You got your job shop in your garage. You're making machines, components for machines for PharmaMed. What, in your opinion, what's the biggest difference between the two kinds of work that you do, the work you do for PharmaMed and the work you do for your company?
Well, I mean, quite often they don't seem all that different, but I guess one of the at least benefits of working at PharmMed is I have a direct line to the engineers. So if they design something that I don't like, I can just walk upstairs and be like, "Hey, is there any way we can change this, modify this so that it doesn't do I really need to put that, 60 thou radius 4 inches deep? Like, could we just not?" Uh, yeah, that's kind of the one of the major benefits. That's the biggest difference is when you have a direct line to the engineers. They can make your life a lot easier or a lot harder if they don't like you, I guess.
Absolutely, man. I've seen that plenty of times in plenty of shops. What's a mistake that younger machinists make that you have learned over the decade that if you were to talk to younger you, you'd be like, "Hey, don't make this mistake."
The this one it's interesting because like it's employers obviously like to see a long work history, but so I've worked 4 different shops and we've seen a lot of different things. And I guess you don't necessarily have to change jobs, but if you can see more shops and how people do things, try to get out there and do that. Like there's I the first 6 years or so of my career, I spent a lot of time doing the exact same thing and processing parts one specific way because that's how my first supervisor showed me. And it was very close to how my second boss, he did it too. So I didn't feel like I got a real strong, wide base, I should say. Like The single column of foundation was really strong because I had practiced that really heavy, but I had fewer tricks to lean on until I branched out and started either talking to other shop owners or other machinists and really widen that base, get the full 40 by 80 shed instead of just a one column type deal. So
Yeah, I get that. What was the best way that you networked as a machinist and got more experience like that?
I mean, so I guess the number one thing that for me was when I changed jobs and went kind of to the cities. I had more machinists to like inside that building. I had more. I went from a company of me and the boss to a company of 50 people.
Sure.
I was the only like machinist in my building. The other building had a couple more, but working with the engineers there where they had more experience working with other engineer or with other machinists that they've had outsourced parts to before. Trade shows are excellent and LinkedIn is always a big one. And you know, the number one networking advice, I can't tell you how to find people, but when you do, be vulnerable, go first, be weird. That's the number one piece of advice I can give you. Everyone I've ever talked to never says no to more friends, usually, but no one wants to go through the hard work of stopping to talk to somebody and starting that awkward first conversation. It isn't easy. I wouldn't say I'm an expert at it. I'm still trying to do better myself, but just be weird, go first.
Yeah. I dig that a lot, especially the be weird part, but I think you just named your own episode here. I think it's going to be weird, go first. I think that's the name of this episode for sure. Yesterday I just led a webinar for a trade association and their emerging leaders on networking. And it's amazing how young people, mid-career people, how uncomfortable they are in networking situations. People tend to freeze up or they don't think that they're worthy of networking in a room of business owners or even peers, right? It's turned into a society where we'd rather be behind a phone or a computer trying to argue with each other or communicate with each other than in person. And I was telling this group yesterday, every job, every opportunity, every client that I have for my company, every guest on this show has come from networking. I mean, you went first. You reached out to me, Jared, on LinkedIn and said, "Hey, I've got a pretty cool story. I want to come on your show." I was like, cool. Sounds awesome, man. Let's get a call together, right? Like you have to put yourself out there and you have to bring value to the conversation. You can't just start by asking, right? And I think that, and that's what I appreciate about you. You didn't ask first. You said, "Hey, I've got a cool story." You brought value to the conversation just in LinkedIn before you said, "And I would like to be on your show." And I said, "Fantastic. This is cool." So I think that, be weird, take that chance, go first, bring value. I think that all of that plays such a massive role to widening perspectives, to seeing new opportunities, to seeing the way things are done differently, right? I mean, if you had just stayed in that first shop and never gotten any experience outside of that first shop, your career could be very different. But now you have a garage shop and all the things that come with entrepreneurship. So I agree with you wholeheartedly, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, you pretty much just summed up how many different leadership books because they tell you all the exact same thing. And I gotta put it out there: be weird, go first. Not my own creation. I stole it from Dr. John Deloney and some of the people over at the Ramsey Network. So
Okay. All right. Well, credit to them, but it's still going to be the title of your episode here on the
love it.
manufacturing. I will wear that lawsuit if they come after me for putting that as a title, but
Yeah,
whatever. It is
I
what it
doubt
is.
it. He just says it on the show. It's not like it's the title of his book by any means. So
All right, good, good, good. My favorite, speaking of business books or leadership books, the best one that I've ever read is called Leadership BS. Have you ever read that one?
I haven't. It's on my list because when we had our first call, you had mentioned it. It's
Yeah,
on my list, but I've got like a 70 bookcase over here that also has a lot of things on my list.
I get it, man. I get it. I've got a stack super deep right now. Yeah, it is what it is. I'm finishing one right now. Phenomenal book. I'll tell you about it when I'm done, just to wrap it up. Um, So, machinists, the people who are making things in this world, we've got people like Paul Van Meter who has Thank a Machinist, which is such a massive effort to bring awareness and appreciation and acknowledgement to the work that machinists are doing. And I think that part of the problem is a lot of people don't necessarily understand the trade as a whole. They don't understand what machinists do. They think manufacturing and they think that parts come out fully formed, right? Like brackets grow on trees and bodies grow out of the ground. And I just
Everything's
think
just 3D printed nowadays. That's what most
exactly.
people would probably
Yeah,
think.
exactly. And so I think that part of the issue is people just don't get it. They don't have enough knowledge. So what would you as a machinist and a good machinist, what do you wish that more people understood about being a machinist or about the trade in general?
Man, I guess, and it's very personality dependent, but if I'm trying to talk to somebody who, like, if I'm trying to convince them to be a machinist, one of the best parts of the whole thing for me is at the end of the day, I can look at my work cart and I can just see everything I've done and be proud of that. Like, there's nothing wrong with the intellectual careers. I mean, I'm actually in college right now, possibly looking at changing careers to be a therapist, which is a whole side tangent thing. But there's plenty of value in the intellectual careers, but there's just something that, since I mentioned the therapist thing, to me, when you've got good work as a machinist, it is a type of therapy. When you get in the flow state, just the pride and the everything just kind of disappears, especially when you get that just like perfect hum out of a tool. I just love it. But it it's very fulfilling in a kind of undescribable way for me to at least communicate at this point. It's amazing. It's really great.
Yeah, I agree. I started my career in construction. So I dropped out of college after one semester, tried retail, tried restaurants, just wasn't my gig. So I built houses. I needed something that was something more, right? I still drive by those houses and point them out to my family and tell them exactly what I worked on in those things, whether it was just a demo project or it was ripping out a staircase and building a spiral or whatever the case may be. There's that pride in craftsmanship that exists, right? And um I think that has become devalued a little bit in this country as we've moved more into the service industries and intellectual roles. Not that it's not easy to be proud of what you've accomplished at the end of the day as an intellectual, right? I'm sure that lawyers win cases and they're stoked, right? And there's pride in that. But I also think that there's something to be said for machining a part or building a house or wiring a house, whatever it is, right? And being able to step back and say, fuck yeah, I did that, man. That is my creation. That is my hard work. That is, I don't know. And you're going into therapy. So you tell me because you're way smarter than me when it comes to like the human psyche.
It's a pastime. Thinking about it, friends with plenty of tradespeople, been a blue collar guy for most of my life. There's something that, yeah, if you hang out with plumbers, electricians, contractors, machinists, everybody will just like, you go by any of their projects and they do the same. They're just like, I built that. That was me. My accountant just messaged me asking for some paperwork. And it's just like, yeah, I don't, maybe they do, but I don't think accountants are just like, yeah, I got Jim such a great return in 2022. I just don't, maybe they do.
Maybe.
It's just like when you do like intellectual work, it's like it's very like you probably feel that accomplishment heavy right when you do it. But then a year later, you're working on something completely different, or it's just not there. and you don't drive by it or you don't see it in the store like you do with the trades, where it's just there's little reminders more often. I bet accountants do it when, 10 years later they going through the file records and they see it and they're like, that was a good year for me, I guess. But
Yeah, but to your point, I mean, I know aerospace machinists that literally anytime a plane flies by, they're like, I have XYZ part on that plane, right? There's just something to be said for that level of pride and the legacy that these trades can create for somebody. I mean, we all are working towards creating a legacy of some sort, right? Psychologically. And to have that legacy that and I've been blessed enough to hear so many stories on this podcast of the pride that shows up when people have made things right and or their parents, their dad were I had a guy on, his dad worked for Goodyear Tire, and he still is proud of the fact that his dad worked for Goodyear Tire. I've got a plaque behind me of my great grandfather's company out of Chicago. He used to build machines, and I've got a plaque from one of the machines. That's my great grand. I never met the man, but I'm super proud of that. Like that lineage lives on, right? And so I think that there's something to be said for that level of pride in craftsmanship. Tell us about this potential career switch. What drove that? Because that is, I mean, there's a lot of correlation. You are a therapist when you're a machinist because you got shit going on in that shop every day. But what was the impetus to look at that direction?
so we all have results that we want to see. And while I really enjoy the results that I get from the parts that I make and the machines that we construct, the human experience and the people are kind of what drive me more is to make people better. And that was part of the reason I started Arate was it was going to be I was going to make people better through leadership roles, and maybe that'll become something someday. But I've kind of realized that I don't have the skills to be a founder. Like it's not where my skills lie. So it was a faster way into getting results with people. I I mean, you could argue that it isn't. Without significant help on making the business into, like, multi-person, because right now it's just me. That was it was a faster way, but therapy's also helped me drastically. This wouldn't have been a conceivable conversation for me in 2021 before I started. It just wasn't who I was.
Got it.
I was much more into shrinking myself and being a chameleon, and now I get to be weird and go first.
I dig it, man. Therapy was life changing for me. I started in 2017, and I am a different person than I was nearly a decade ago because of it. And it's not for the worse, right? I'm a different person in the good ways, and I'm still who I was in the right ways, if that makes any sense at all.
To me, it does perfectly, but I've been there. I've experienced it myself. It brings out the I don't even necessarily want to say the better part, which I mean, because I assume it brings out the realer person for everybody. So I
Okay.
guess if you aren't necessarily a good person, it might not bring out the best in you. But I also believe everybody is good. That just the reason we have people that act the way they do is they're scared of something. Usually, it's either the fear of the consequences or the unknowns that they can't control. Everybody is trying to do their best, and sometimes they make poor choices because to them that's the best way they can get out of it. It's unfortunate that that has to happen, but
Yeah.
we live in a broken world, so some people make poor choices.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Couldn't agree more. Our industry isn't known for having the best mental health, and not the best coping mechanisms, not the best view of vulnerability and authenticity. Right? It's let's fall in line and get your shit done and go home. Right? And so Is there any chance that your focus would be on skilled tradespeople if you do go down that route and become a licensed therapist? Because I go into shops all the time and I have probably two handfuls of shops that call me their shop therapist. I'm like, you can't call me a therapist. That is literally illegal to call me a therapist. I am not a therapist up front. I will coach you, but I am not a therapist. But it's something this industry desperately needs. It's something that, I've talked to more shop owners in the last 6 years than I can probably count. And more than half, I can't give a percentage, but more than half have said, man, I would love to have some sort of mental health program for my staff or therapy program. Is that something you can help with? And in all of my searching, there are corporate therapists, there's, professional therapists, but nobody really understands this industry when I start reaching out to those people, because it's a different industry. They know white collar, they know people who sit behind a desk all day and feel those pressures. So back to my question, is there any chance that you would look at specializing on skilled tradespeople?
I would love to. I mean, with my mix of loving like leadership and everything about it, like shop owners would probably be one of the top people I'd love to work with just because it they're one, a different breed, but two, like they yeah, they don't have anybody who they don't have people that they can talk to that understand it either. And like when it comes to like the floor workers, I'd also love to work with them, but I also know those are tougher guys to, to get in the office, like it I be 100% frank, wouldn't I probably wouldn't be here today if I wouldn't have made the choice to step into that office back in 2022. I was intaking a gram of caffeine every day just to keep
Wow.
going. Okay, maybe not a full gram every day, but pretty close to a full gram every day. I know at least 700 milligrams. And then I'd come home and, polish a quarter, half bottle, if not a 12 pack. Just it, you, you can, machining is one of those ones where you can get very isolated very quickly. Like we have coworkers and we all joke around at the shop, but you kind of like, you walk out and forget about it. Like it's just you don't have to work with anybody else as a machinist. I mean, maybe you have a programmer setup guy relationship every once in a while, but that's how it was at Lester. Was I he was the programmer and I was the setup guy, and we chatted, we had fun, but it, I still felt very isolated. I don't know the best way to get them into the office, but they should. I guess I don't have much more to say than that. And other than everyone, if you feel lonely, it sucks, but you got to find somebody. Be weird, go first, and hell, I'll be your friend if you need me to be.
Absolutely. And I'm glad I made a friend in Jared, and I doubled down on his sentiment. If you're feeling alone right now, reach out to Jared, reach out to me, talk to somebody, because talking to one of us, even though we're not licensed therapists yet, in Jared's case, me not at all, never will be. I won't ever pass that test that's necessary to become one. Just talking to somebody is better than not talking to anybody at all, and wearing that internally and holding it inside. I agree wholeheartedly, man. I love that sentiment, and I love that you put that out there for everybody. So tell us about your shop and how you came up with the name. I'm not going to try and say it again because I fucked it up the first time. So how did you come up with the name, and where do you get your work from?
So, Arate Manufacturing. So the premise was at a friend of mine. She got a party bus for her 22nd birthday. Long story, couldn't do it on 2021, so we did it on 22. And there was a group of us, and this is where on the last podcast I was on, I told this same story, and I didn't remember her name then, still don't remember her name now. It's very close to Kristen, but it's not Kristen. And somewhere through the night, I called her Kristen, and she's like, "Come on, Jared, you got to be better." And for some reason, that phrase "be better" stuck with me, and I wanted to use that in the business name somewhere. And I'm like, "Be better." It's good, but it's not great. And then I was reading a book called The Battle for the American Mind on the school system. And the author talked about arete, which is the Greek philosophy of virtue or excellence. So, in it, long story short, the Greeks believed that humans had the responsibility to strive to be the best they could be and reach their full potential. So that's what arete means. So arete was my be better, strive for excellence without just saying be better.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's cool. And what kind of work do you do? How do you find your jobs?
so PharmaMed is my number one customer on
Yeah,
the
as they
books.
should
So
be, man. Yeah, well done.
when we get busy and like they don't want me coming in on the weekends, they'll send me a PO so I can work from home. That way, yeah, they don't have the necessarily the insurance liabilities and all that for working the overtime, which is excellent. Uh, got two people that I just well, one's an actual degreed engineer. The other is a buddy from high school. He's a welder and he's got ideas, so he'll just request a quote every once in a while for his hodgepodge contraption he's coming up with. And then, yeah, the other engineers that I've worked with who need something made, those are kind of the main pipelines. It's a lot of cold emails. It's worked out. Actually, emails have never worked out. Going door to door has worked out much better than actual emails. Yeah, while sales are fun, when sales are your only source of income, they get a lot less fun real fast.
Absolutely, man. 100%. That could be the statement that I felt most in the pit. I felt a lot in the pit of my gut, but I hate doing sales. I was a salesman for a lot of years. I am not a good salesperson because I don't enjoy it. And I apologize to previous bosses that may be listening to this that thought that I enjoyed my job. All right, man. Jared, we're gonna wrap up. Final question that I ask all my guests. No, we're gonna do two more questions. First one is, where do you see manufacturing 5 to 10 years from now? What's the future look like for us?
Well, I guess I can't say for sure what the future is going to look like, but what I would hope for is I maybe not necessarily garage shops, but I would like to see more 1, 2, 10 man shops that are high performance driven and where we can keep overhead low so we can keep manufacturing costs low, implement automation and just streamlining it so that we can have affordable manufacturing where people can still get paid really well here in the States.
Yeah, man, that's going to be a social clip right there because
Yeah.
I agree wholeheartedly. I did a trip to Spokane a couple of years ago, and I got to tell you, man, the amount of small, like in a pole barn, in somebody's garage, shops that I ran into on that trip. I had one meeting going on this trip. I had had three others, but two of or the other three canceled. So I was like, all right, I'm just gonna open up Google and Google machine shops. And I just drove and knocked on doors and walked in, and I'll tell you, man, the amount of 1 and 2 person shops in the Spokane area was phenomenal. And I agree that that is the future of that has to be our future. If we're going to rebuild American manufacturing and we're going to rebuild that middle class, it's going to be because people are starting their own shops again and leaving that private equity, large corporation kind of shop behind.
Yeah, I mean we gotta pay well or we're not gonna get people. But if you've got, 100 person company and t- 20, 30 people that is overhead, you can't get your prices down low enough to compete.
Yes. 100%, man. Dude, I knew I liked you in the pre-interview. I knew I liked you from your outreach, but I've really enjoyed this interview. It's been a lot of fun. You're a really bright dude. Not that I'm saying that I'm shocked about that, but you're well
I'm
spoken.
shocked.
You're well spoken. You're bright. You're well read. I've really enjoyed this conversation. We went in a completely different direction than I thought we were going to go, and I love it. And that's why I love doing the show. So now the last question, Jared. What haven't I asked you that you want to share with the audience?
I knew this question was coming. I just want to give one of your past guests a shout out because he's trying to take off right now, and that's Craig Coyle with his Operation Leadership. It I love that dude so much, and I think he's gonna make a big impact on the industry. And I want everyone to go listen to his podcast, check out his LinkedIn posts, and anybody who thinks that they want leadership training, just give him a call. The
100%.
he's a battle buddy from the army and did way cooler things than I did being an Apache pilot. He's on the top of my mind right now, and I hope people get over there and check him out.
Yeah, his show is phenomenal. I listened to that first episode and man, I'm really impressed. He did a great job. And yeah, go check out Craig's podcast. Check him out on LinkedIn. Find Jared on LinkedIn as well while you're at it. If you're over on LinkedIn and you're not connected with him, Jared, thank you so much for being here, man. I really
Thanks
enjoyed
for
this
having me.
conversation. Are you going to any trade shows this year? Am I going to be able to see you in person anywhere?
I what me, my buddy Ryan, and my buddy Chris are all looking at IMTS, so for sure.
All
And
right.
I might see some other local ones, but that's the only one I've got for sure confirmed on the books right now.
All right. So at IMTS, little heads up, there will be two can't miss evening events. Okay.
Okay. That's what I
Jay
like to hear.
Colin, Chris Lukey are doing a manufacturing happy hour extra innings event
Love those guys.
on Tuesday night. And on Wednesday night, I am doing my manufacturing mic drop karaoke night at Brando's Speakeasy in the Loop there. It's just miles away from, or mile and a half away from the convention center. Come sing your heart out. If not singing, have a cocktail with me. It'll be a good time. So can't wait to meet you in person, man.
Sweet.
Thanks for being here.
Well, thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a part of this journey. If you like this show, please check out our other shows, Work But Make It Human, The Manufacturing Connector, and a show where I sit on stage and get drunk with my friends called Industrial Storytellers. Until next time, keep making things. Thanks for being here. Bye.